TLM Partners purchased a game called Heroes and Generals on February 3rd of 2022, but they would end up shutting down the servers on May 25th of 2023. So, how did they end up killing a game just 1 year after purchasing it? To know, we first have to learn a little bit about the game's history and developers leading up to its acquisition. Redo Moto, the original developers of the game, was founded by members of IO Interactive, the creators of the Hitman series, so they obviously weren't completely new to making games, and this is probably why Heroes and Generals was somewhat successful, with them reaching over 11,000 concurrent players when they released in early access in 2014, and then reaching another peak of over 20,000 when it officially released in 2016. But after this, the numbers would only continue to go down, and this can be explained by a Reddit user who said, "But instead of taking advantage of this influx of players and money to create a better, bigger, and more inclusive game that was friendlier to new players and could stand the test of time, they sort of just squandered their opportunity and did nothing." So now we're left with a game with a small remnant of extremely dedicated, high-level, and frequently toxic players, and a constant influx of new free-to-play players who promptly realize that A, the game is bad to new players and bashes them over the head repeatedly until they either pay big money or just quit, and B, the community is awful and toxic to new players and fights any developer movement to improve the new player experience. So the new players leave and the game population steadily declines. On top of this, the Redo Moto Twitter had also become very inactive, with their last post being in 2019, hinting that things weren't going well behind the scenes. And there was a good reason for this. Due to the steady decline of the game, Redo Moto was unable to turn a profit, which is why they would end up selling Heroes and Generals to TLM before declaring bankruptcy just 1 month later. This was also confirmed by a higher up at TLM who stated, "Heroes and Generals World War II has not been profitable for a very long time. Redo Moto has been spending money to keep it operational from around 2016 to 2021, and in 2022 TLM took the game over, but despite the battle passes, it has still been running at a loss." At the time of the purchase, Heroes and Generals was only averaging around 1,500 players at a time. In an effort to try and get some money out of the game, TLM implemented the Battle Pass, which was a very popular feature in many other games at this time, and they also added tutorials to try and help new players, with the video even titled, "An Introduction to Heroes and Generals. Great for first-time players." So it was pretty clear what their message and goal was, but unfortunately it didn't work as the game didn't see any sort of significant increase in player count. But even while they did all this, they knew that the game wouldn't be able to make it far, as explained by the CEO of TLM.
"We purchased the IP knowing that there was a certain shelf life remaining for the Retox engine. We set a major milestone when we took our free-to-play light RTS first-person shooter and introduced a battle pass system, new campaigns, and added a tutorial to better onboard new players. As we launched our latest battle pass campaign and we were planning our next one, we came to the unfortunate conclusion that the legacy Retox engine has run its course."
In the same video, they would end up announcing Heroes and Generals 2, and this would mark the beginning of the end for the whole franchise. When they announced the new game, they were asking for a whopping $3 million from the community, which is a crazy amount for a game like this, especially considering it only averaged around 1.5 thousand players. And what makes this even more insane is that people soon noticed that the models they were using were just assets that could be purchased from the Unreal Engine marketplace, showing that the devs were too lazy to make their own models for weapons and items. They would end up dropping the price down to $2 million, which was still an insane amount. And this whole announcement was a massive shock to the community, with people questioning the purpose of this. One person said, "Where's the money from Heroes and Generals gone? 2 to 3 million should be easy with the amount they've made and the amount of merch sold. If they can't be trusted to manage their funds, they don't deserve to get donations to make another installment. It's pathetic that game devs are begging for money." And another user who came up with this theory: let's start a Kickstarter with an unreachable goal. Let's say $3 million. Then we'll do the bare minimum to look as if we care about Heroes and Generals. And this bare minimum being taking assets from the Unreal Engine marketplace and basically just copying the first game into Unreal Engine 5 and recording enough of it for a trailer. So we'll lower the goal to the still unreachable $2 million and do a few useless Q&As in which we'll just repeat the stuff we already said in the first announcement. This way it'll look like the community doesn't really want a sequel, and we'll come out clean ready for our next project that will not be a Heroes and Generals game. Sorry guys, we really wanted to make Heroes and Generals 2, but as you guys couldn't give us the money we desperately needed for the sequel, we are shooting the whole Heroes and Generals thing in the head. It's all your fault really. Future TLM announcement probably. And this does seem somewhat likely, even though they haven't mentioned anything about the failure of the Kickstarter campaign on their Twitter. They have taken down any mention of the game on their website. But a higher up at TLM said, "I see this argument pop up quite a few times. I mostly try to ignore it as I don't want to put more focus on it, but I will answer it here. If we had wanted to just end the franchise, we would have. There is no advantage for us to deliberately make a Kickstarter fail to end the franchise. If we had asked for example 200,000 and we would have reached that, we would then have to say, thank you for 200k, but we don't have enough money to actually create the game." This could very well be true, but it is hard to say since an employee obviously wouldn't admit to saying that it was supposed to be a scam or was designed to fail. But overall, the Kickstarter barely even made 100,000, which was to be expected with the game's low player count and the lack of an incentive, since the trailer was very bare bones and didn't have a lot of promise, and the rewards for donating weren't that great, with them mainly being skins, Discord roles, and getting your name in the credits. All the servers for Heroes and Generals were shutting down on May 25th, with a statement to their Twitter reading, "The time has come to bid farewell to Heroes and Generals World War II. This incredible game has surpassed all our wildest dreams, with over 22 million gamers registering and joining the battle for world domination. Let this not be a final chapter, but rather the next steps toward an even more exciting future. Until then, thank you for playing our game." Only time will tell whether or not there will be a new game, but it does seem quite unlikely. If you guys enjoyed this video, then I would greatly appreciate if you could drop a sub, as it really helps support the channel.